Good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Warner, and I'm with Onterdot, as you probably know. Well, we got a program tonight that's just going to keep you riveted to your chair. It's a subject that I know is near and dear to your heart. I'm going to try and convince you that it should be. We're going to talk about finance. Oh, exciting, huh? All right, get ready. Buckle up. So, this is a subject that's really quite important. Your business lives and dies on cash. If you run out of cash, you're in deep doo-doo. So you don't want that to happen. So you got to take charge of your finances in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to take you through some of it. So I'm going to start off by urging you to have an accounting package of some kind, software, a system on your, that's part of your business. I use QuickBooks. A lot of people use QuickBooks. It's pretty popular, but there are others to choose from. I'm not trying to sell one or another, but have one. It'll pay off in the long run. If you're thinking of starting this, well, geez, I could do this in Excel because I'm really good at Excel. Well, are you really good at creating cash flow statements and balance sheets and P&Ls and monitoring ongoing expense and managing inventory and on and on and on in Excel? If not, I would think twice. I would really question you as to why you were going to spend an ounce of your time developing your own financial or accounting package in Excel. But look, when you're just starting out, and it's you and another person and not many customers, you can start that way, but don't go too far down the road without getting over to a QuickBooks-like thing. So that's my end of my pitch on get on an accounting package. I might say it again just to re-emphasize it. So watch out for this. So things you got to be sure that you're doing is that you are in a position to keep proper records of revenue and cost and expense and all sorts of things. So all the money coming in and all the money going out, you're going to have to keep track of. That's why you need an accounting package. So there you go. I said it again. And you got to do it completely. Don't miss something. Well, I won't count that because it's not that big a deal. Well, no, count it. You got to make sure taxes are paid. Some taxes, like federal and state income tax, need to be paid quarterly. Be sure you do it. There's, if you have employees, there's workman's comp and Social Security and all this sort of stuff you got to withhold. Now, there are companies that do that for you, payroll companies, for example. If you've got subcontractors, you're going to have to publish a 1099. It's a record of how much you paid them. I think if it's over $600, if it's under that, you don't, or if it's a corporation you're paying it to, you don't have to. So I think I said earlier, I am not an accountant. For all you know me, know that I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a tax preparer. I haven't done my own taxes in probably 30 years or more, probably more. But I can talk about this stuff from the viewpoint of an entrepreneur. So that's what I'm trying to do with you here tonight. So get somebody to prepare your taxes and arrange for that. You want to see reporting. How am I doing on my financials? So that if something is different than last month, I'd like to know what the heck happened. And if it's a problem, I want to do something about it. And you want to look at your financials for potentially making improvements in your financial performance, like spending less or making more revenue or reducing the cost of goods sold or things like that will improve your profitability. You keep more money, cash flows goes up if you're more profitable. So these are the things that you got to make sure you're doing. So let's talk about now, well, how the heck do we do this? So I'm going to use QuickBooks as an example. So I'm going to use that term a lot, but I'm doing it more generically than I am a sales pitch on QuickBooks, as said before. Whatever package you use, learn how to use it. Yeah, it sounds simple. Well, there are lots and lots for the good software packages, lots and lots of online courses you can take to learn how to use their platform. In addition to that, I'm not advocating that you become kind of an accounting major at some university, but you could take some basic accounting courses to learn the function of a P&L and a cash flow statements and balance sheet if you want to go that far, and learn certain accounting principles so that when you talk to your bookkeeper, accountant, you know what questions to ask them. That's more important than you actually knowing how to manipulate the books. You hire somebody to do that sort of stuff for you. But I think you're understanding that I'm suggesting you get a pro to do your financial mumbo jumbo, all the arithmetic and all the bookkeeping. And there are lots of good ones around. There's also lots of not so good ones. So be careful, check them out first. But if someone's been in this business for 15, 20 years and survived all the economic ups and downs, and it looks like they're living okay, and they got a good resume, you're probably safe with them. Check them out with other people that might be using them. That's easy to do. So the relationship you'll have with such a person is, yeah, they're the mechanic. They're the numbers people. They add them up, subtract them, divide by pi, whatever they do to make sure the books are being kept properly. They're taking information from you, actually. So what do you got to give them? So at the onset, this person, this pro, has to know what your revenue model is. How do you get money into the company? What are you charging people? What are your prices? What are the terms for the payment that they eventually make to you? So if you're a product company, that's pretty simple. Put something in a cart, provide a credit card, and buy it. That's revenue like that. If you're a services company, it's a little bit more complicated. And there are rules to how you account for revenue in services businesses. But they know the rules. You just got to explain to them how you make money, how you bring money into the company, called revenue, sales revenue. Then you got to explain, well, how do you get paid? This leads into how cash flow works. So if you're a 30-day net kind of guy, but you can only count on 60 because nobody ever does it, and you're weak on collections, they're gonna work with that and understand that your limit is 30 days more than 30 days net, and as long as that's okay with you, which it shouldn't be, they'll go with you on it. So explain to them how cash transactions occur and when do you bill? When do you want to invoice? In other words, what are you expecting for them to pay, and when? So that leads into the cash flow analysis that'll come later. So they need so if you're making a product, a thing like a calculator, you've got to explain to them, well, we make this calculator, and here's the bill of materials for all the parts that go into that thing, and here's the manufacturing labor per calculator, and all sorts of information if you're a product company, because they're going to reflect it in the cost equation, the cost calculation in your financials. Now, if you're a services company, cost of goods sold on that is people performing the service. That's pretty simple. But it's got to be accounted for as people performing a service, not people performing operating expense items like lawyers and accountants themselves, like your salary, for example. The rest of the operating expenses, all the things you need to budget for, probably a list about this long, varies, of things you write checks for or pay by credit card monthly, like subscriptions, like books you buy, trade shows you go to, exhibits you put into the trade shows. Accountants, of course, you're going to pay them. Telephones, computers. If you're in manufacturing, you got a whole manufacturing line to pay for. Labor. So the operating expense of your company is a pretty big hunk of money, usually. And your accountant's got to know what all those little pieces of money are. They call them accounts. The legal account, that's how much you pay your lawyer. The marketing person, so, or 2 or 3 that you have. The marketing services that you're buying, and the list goes on. It's a long list. If you want to email me and I'll send you a pretend budget, you can see what the heck I'm talking about. So you've got to also explain how your company's been financed. Have you borrowed any money? Because that's going to be reflected in your balance sheet that you got, and your cash flow statement. Some amount of money came in as a loan, and somebody expects you to pay it back sometime at some interest rate. So all that's got to be put in your your financial forecast. But more importantly, you got to pay the bills for that every month. Somebody wants their principal and interest back. So that's a special line in a financial statement. You also got to get asked that odd question: what form of financing do you want? You want to be cash or accrual? And you won't know what the heck he's talking about. And I'll just tell you, 95% of the companies that I see are cash basis. That means money's in and it's accounted for there. Accrual is yet another game. I'm not even going to try and explain it because I don't think it's worth it to you. I should have ever brought it up, so I'm sorry. So it's cash-based accounting. So that gets you started with a pro, and probably 14 other questions that I didn't even tell you about yet. But you need to get this person up to speed on all of what comes into and leaves your company in terms of finance. So now, once you got that set up, now we're going to get going here. He's gotten all of your accounts and knows where the money is and can write checks and all that sort of stuff for you to sign. So you get all that data to him. And one of the big things you're going to rely on for this person, after all said and done, and they've done all their gymnastics, on a monthly basis, you want a report from that person, financial report. And it's a profit and loss statement. Some people call it income and expense statement. I don't care. That's what it is. It's revenue in, cost of goods, gross profit, operating expense items subtracted from gross profit. That's profit for the month. And you want to know, has it changed from last month? What are the extraordinary differences from the previous month or the previous quarter? You want to know contrasts, like how are we performing this month a year ago, or this quarter last year versus now. So you want to see trends that are occurring, the financial trends that are occurring in your business. So you put special focus on these things. You probably, in cost of goods sold alone, whether it's a product or a service, you're going to spend a little bit of time understanding what are all the elements of cost here. And you may have your head of services in the room with you when you go do this, and you might have questions for this person as to where all this money is going. Why is it costing so much for this kind of service or this part for this product? You'll have discussions about that, how to reduce cost. You may want to, if you're a services company, you want to know how each project is performing. Well, there's a challenge. So you're going to keep track of the costs in this case of labor and materials by project, or by customer, so that you know for any single project that it in and out of itself is profitable. You don't want to be running a bunch of services contracts and they all lose money, because when you add it all up, it'll be a big loss at the bottom. If a project is going south and it's starting to lose money, you want to know why and do something about it. So that's quite often an added feature in financial reporting that you may want to take advantage of and should. The biggie is cash management. You've heard the term cash is king. Well, it kind of is, particularly early on. And you want to watch your cash flow. It's at the bottom of the cash flow statement where you stand this month versus last month, or versus this month last year. And you want to know the trends of it. And you can also have a forecast going forward, and your financial pro can help you with that. It's actually a forward-looking budget. So you can foresee whether or not you're going to have cash flow issues, a few months from now. So you want to watch this, because running out of cash is not fun. Because then you got to call people up because you can't pay them. You're going to give them a deal, so I'll pay you later, but I'll give you this discount on price or something, whatever you're going to do to negotiate your way through this mess you've created because you ran out of money. Or you're going to have to go get a line of credit begging on your knees, and you have no good position to argue from. So don't get yourself in that position. The next thing your fine pro is going to do is pay your darn taxes, like I said before, and on time. And all of the employee-related expenses like workman's comp and Social Security I mentioned earlier. But these things must be paid on time. They come in, you mess this up for a few quarters, they'll come and get you, put handcuffs on you. No baloney. I've seen it happen. So you got to take this, paying the government the money you owe them is kind of important. Else you're going to spend a few nights in jail if somebody tries to bail you out. So the next one is, and it's one that's kind of time consuming, is expense management, operating expense. It's that long list of items I mentioned earlier. But be strict about this. You are looking for how to cut expense. You ask lots of questions, item by item. Why do I need this? Who's using this service? What is this subscription fee for? Again, do we still need that? So you ask questions like that for most of your expense items, looking for savings. The less you spend, the more you keep. I'm sure accountants can make that more complicated for you, but it doesn't have to be. The less you spend, the more you keep. It's pretty simple. Now, there's some interesting things you can do to shift workload called subcontracting. And there are disciplines within your business that could be well suited for subcontracting, like marketing. Now, I'm not going to advocate that you just turn over marketing to a subcontractor, but you or somebody in the company's got to be in charge of it. But the mechanics of marketing, actually performing email campaigns, actually producing videos, actually doing the social media posts and the social media advertising. There's a lot of things that can be subcontracted, as long as you never lose control of the content and the messaging. That's you. You're the brains behind the company and what it means and what your competitive advantages are and how to say it. So you are in control of marketing by managing the content that goes on a website, goes in advertising material, things like that. But you can offload a lot of the mechanical stuff to someone else. Do that in sales as well. You could get subcontract salespeople, pay them a little bit of a retainer and a commission, an attractive commission. Particularly if you're not the best salesperson on the face of the earth. Accounting, of course, we just offloaded that in this whole discussion. Development can be offloaded to foreign countries even. You know them well. Asia, with Vietnam, the Philippines, Ukraine, Russia, all are good places. India's kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of people, but the effect of all of this is that those things that are on your shoulders, you as the CEO or head of a business unit or head of a department within a company, if you can offload things that you got to spend time on, you can pay for somebody to do those things, particularly if the cost of labor is less for them to do it, rather than your high-priced salary doing something for somebody that makes $40 an hour. You have saved the company. You've spent more money, but you have put your talents to work on growing the business, like closing deals with customers, establishing partnerships, things like that grow the company. So the net effect is you've invested in the subcontracting world, you've invested a considerable amount of money so that the executive team is positioned to be able to grow the company and more than pay for the subcontract that you've done. So expense management, that's an aspect of expense management that you should pay attention to. So one final thought, or set of thoughts. I know you've been waiting for this, but eventually you got to fill out a tax return and do all the preparation for tax. So all of the information the tax accountant needs, and by the way, this tax accountant may be the same accountant that's doing your bookkeeping. Many of them are CPAs and know the tax laws and can advise you and do your tax returns for you. But a pro should do this. I wouldn't suggest that anybody do their own taxes, business taxes, unless you are one yourself and you happen to be in it. Your business is actually filling out tax returns. So you gather the necessary reports. Your accounting pro will do it for you. It's the P&L for the year and the cash flow and the balance sheet for the year and the trial balance that they'll need to make sure the books are balanced. So you turn all of that material over to the tax accountant and they complete your return and file it. And you pay them some money to do that for you. Of course, I've already decided what kind of corporation you are, so that's not a subject here, but depending on the kind of corporation you are, the tax returns filled out accordingly. So they complete the return and you're done for the year around March and keep on going. So I hope that was helpful. It's accounting 101, not even that, 10100 and a half, because I'm really not talking like I'm a real good accountant, but this stuff is kind of sixth grade arithmetic. But the important thing is you must, as the business owner, understand the implications of good financial management on the success of your business and manage it accordingly. So I urge you to do that. You'll be much happier. Again, my name is Bill Warner, and I'm with Entradot. Have a great evening. Good night.